university in my country will be able to join and to enjoy the fruits of the global space education and space policy, so that though they are behind, but they can chip in, start to learn, so that they can also grow their own independent courses, so that they can teach and become the part of the global space policy and space actors, as far as the space realm is concerned. So that is all about this. What does the country do? That meaning the government does to impact this space education and space policy. First of all, is to have the outer space agents, but as far as for university, that is now the education and policy. Many of the learning institutions, they don't have these specific courses that touches outer space matters. But what you can do is to engage these higher learning institution, so that they can also be part of the global agenda through different platforms, like the one we are eager to establish here. So if I have left any detail, then my learned brother Kasim can salvage what I have left behind. Hello?
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? I think my network is not good. Right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
With regards to Tanzania, my colleague. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
With regards to space law and Tanzania, my colleague George speaks it all. Why we are with the issue of space law in Tanzania, or space in general, we are, I can say we are at the infant stage. We are at the infant stage in the sense that we don't have to do much with regards to space law. And now our government is trying. And one of the initiative is first to establish a space agency, and also to enact some law that are relevant to space law. So all in all, I can say we are at infancy stage, and now we are trying to exploit the benefit of space law, and hopefully soon we will be somewhere. That's all about Tanzania. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Again, thank you very much. Can you hear me, everyone? I have a little bit issues with the connection. Is it working out? Good. I would like to share 1 second, please, the screen, if it is possible. Yeah. Can everyone see that? Can you see it, the screen?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So let me
Yes.
just shortly, I will not talk longer than 5 minutes, so don't worry. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation. And as Livingston already said, yeah, I was asked to make a short trip through the idea and visions of an NGO which is based in Africa, which want to advocate space education and policy initiatives. And let me show you firstly what I think should be our vision. The main principle should be think big and achieve more. That is the beginning of our project. And based on that, I would recommend that we concentrate on maybe 3 pillars. The 3 pillars might be firstly, education, secondly, advisory, and thirdly, advocacy. As Livingston already said, I think education is very important, but education is always interconnected. It is interdependent to international organization. It is interdependent to legal organizations, but also to government, military, military and security agencies. All that issue should also be considered when it comes to an further cooperation and in building up of the Africa Space Education and Policy Initiative. Let me shortly show you aspects maybe of education that was already described by my colleagues, training people mainly from the African continent, from African country, by cultivating their own scientists and legal minds. I think that is very important that we are advocating an African view on space law, but also on international law and on humanitarian law. The second point, that is a future aspect, but we should consider it, that is the question of advisory services. Mainly, that is also what my previous speaker said. We should concentrate how we can implement our knowledge, our expertise to legal institutions and universities in African countries, and afterwards, how we can expand that to the governmental level to maybe also other aspects of military or security aspects. And the last point that is in the far future is the question of advocacy. So will we be able to develop our own interpretation of a unique African view of space law and of the implementation of space law in the international context? This is the basic issue, because what do we want to educate? I mean, when we're talking about education, do we just want to repeat what is already known by the Western world, basically, or do we also want to encourage an own unique approach to strategic and to military and space economically question? Based on that, what is a very important point, and that is something what is related to the founding aspect, that is building up a global network. I think basically we should try to consider to build up relationship to other existing NGOs related to these issues in Africa, and to manifest an intra-African cooperation. Furthermore, as a next step, what is the opportunity of cooperation related to government or to governmental institutions? How can we build up also to advisories, already existing advisories, institution to African government contacts? And the last point, and that is a very important point related to financing, is can we build up cooperation to existing industry, space industry on the African continent, as well to external partners. Of course, due to the fact that most of us study or studied in China, we should also consider the reality of multipolar world and should consider how in cooperation with the African Union in the perspective, but also with China or Chinese institution can be built up in order to implement our project. Let me just come to the end, some ideas about instruments of implementations, and I'm already done. Firstly, I think that is because it is affordable, it is easy to organize, digital learning. So building up e-platform, e-education. It's a mixed spot. Building up and training program. So we teach trainers who train. The train to trainer program is the best instrument for multipliers. And the last aspect, and that is maybe currently also a very easy aspect and not so difficult to organize, is an ASEPI report, which we can, last one, an ASEPI report, which is actually analyzing current development on the African continent and on the legal practice of African space law. Let me just point one point. After constituting our NGO, we should think about how we get in face, how we get well known. Here also very easy way, we should use social media, especially LinkedIn, because most of the international organizations, but also professors, scientists, and politicians, as well as industry, are represented at LinkedIn. But we also should consider maybe African platforms or the Chinese platform, Little Red Book. Let me come to the end that I don't waste too much time. I think it is very important that we are thinking big and achieve more. We should not underestimate our abilities, even though it is difficult to build a fundament, but based on the overall knowledge, what we can provide, we have already good background, which we now just have to organize in a disciplined and professional manner. That is all on my side. Thank you very much. Um, if I understand you correctly, you mean, sorry, can you repeat the question again, please? The space exploration. The space exploration is like we have the three parts in the global development, which are the most important aspects. The first aspect is AI. The second aspect is the question of biotechnology, and the third aspect is the space development and the space exploration. And I think based all these three developments, where we have the new technological revolutions, are on a political point, on a military point, and on an economic point of view, the most demanding and pressurous aspects which we are facing in our times. And in my opinion, what we see right now is again a space race between the superpowers. Even the European Union is not in player. We are talking here about China, Russia, and the USA. And most likely, when this kind of space race will continue, we will again have a dominance between three parties, and we will again exclude especially African countries and the African perspective. I think that's why it's very highly important that the dominance of the Western point of view on law, on space policy needs also to be enlarged on other legal experience, traditions, and knowledge. And that's why it is so important that we are considering these developments in an NGO, which is more than, in my opinion, should be more than the question on education in a university, on an academic point of view, but also with an agenda of taking influence and taking advantage to special developments in the world.
Oh, hello. Hello, everyone. Hi. Okay, so perfect. So I'm McCaffrey Akins, as Dr. Kakari has noted, and I'm the CEO of a business development consultancy firm and publication house called Novame, and also have background in international law. I'm avid fan of all things space, and earlier this year I took a course in our international LLM. Dr. Kakari took us through the space law segment, and right after the course, it has been my concern that this is a glaring gap existing in this market for the country and the continent at large, and even the global south, that we've not explored to the fullest. So I'm very excited, like you. I was invited by Dr. Kakari to join this very, very important movement. So I'm going to very quickly take us through the overarching project plan of the Africa Space Education Policy Initiative, ASEPI. And before I do that, I think it's only incumbent on us to quickly look at the first article, Article 1 of the Outer Space Treaty. Dr. Kakari did me the pleasure of mentioning it very briefly. And it says that the exploration and use of outer space, including the moon and other celestial bodies, shall be carried out for the benefit and interest of all countries, irrespective of their degree of economic or scientific development, and shall be the province of all mankind. Problem there, but let's keep going. Outer space, including the moon and other celestial bodies, shall be free for exploration and used by all states without discrimination of any kind, on a basis of equality and in accordance with international law. And there shall be free access to all areas of celestial bodies. I mean, reading this provision and the entirety of the treaty, and in fact, other related treaties as regards space exploration, there is an underlying theme of, there's an undertone that's quite mocking and quite patronizing, because very clearly it says that space is free range, it's for us all to explore. So the question is, why hasn't Africa been able to take the fullest advantage? It's almost a mockery, because like, it's there, go, why haven't you gone? So essentially what we are trying to do with this very, very important initiative is to take the fullest advantage of the grants allowed us, all humankind, in international law. And I know I'll be preaching to the choir when it comes to this, but then the benefits of space exploration, it's quite unfortunate that in the modern day public consciousness, especially of the developed world, there is a sentiment being like slowly but surely getting attached with space exploration, because in people's minds, space exploration, because of the work done by private sector players like Elon Musk, all billionaires, with his SpaceX, Bezos with Blue Origin, and then Virgin Galactic by Richard Branson, the impression that's beginning to form is that space exploration is space tourism, and it's a game being played by billionaires. That's far from the truth. We here know that to be the case, but for the benefit of future viewers of this program and presentation of ours, let us quickly look at a few of the benefits of space exploration. First and foremost, scientific advancements, the deeper understanding of the universe and planetary systems, and then origins of our lives that has been afforded us by space exploration has been immense. And then technological innovation, development of advanced materials, robotics, AI. The AI revolution has benefited immensely from our space exploration and spin-off technologies that have civilian application, telecommunication, medicine, navigation, energy, efficiency. The list is very, very long. And then the economic growth and then constant emergence of new industries. The AI revolution is one of these shining examples. These have been afforded countries that have taken the initiative of exploring space to their fullest benefit, which we in the global south, notably in this continent of ours, haven't done. And then natural resource access, space mining, with the increasing awareness of the fact that natural resource on Earth is finite. Like very increasingly, we are seeing attention being drawn to the possibility of mining space for rare metals and life-sustaining materials. And then, last but not the least, not the only, national security and strategic advantage. I know Dr. Kakari, for instance, is very, very passionate about this. Enhanced surveillance, communication, early warning systems, strategic positioning in this very increasingly contested geopolitical domain of ours. We can't afford as a continent to be left in the dark when it comes to exploring space for national and continental safety. And we see that at play with Ukraine, for instance, the enormous benefit that they have received from the US's space warfare program. So yes, that's just to name just a few of these benefits to show that space is not out there. It's really, really with us. So ASEPI, what do we plan to do? We want to build the next generation of space leaders in this very continent of ours, in Africa. And what's the organization about? First and foremost, it's a non-profit, non-governmental organization that's dedicated to advancing space education, STEM interest, and space policy awareness across Ghana and the rest of the African continent. It's very, very important that we refuse private sector participation in this dialogue, because our experience shows that if we sit down in fatalism, waiting on the government to make use of some of these very, very important national imperatives, they won't happen. So that's why, as a private non-governmental organization, we are taking up this initiative. So we want to, one, empower young Africans with skills, knowledge, and global exposure that's necessary for us as a continent to participate meaningfully in this very, very rapidly growing space sector. So our vision is in 4 folds. First and foremost, we want to, and I sense that you can see this coming. One, we want to increase African involvement in space education and awareness, ensuring that young people understand the role of space science and technology in national development. That's what I talked about earlier, that the misconception about what space exploration and exploitation is very, very dangerous. So we have to rid ourselves of any miseducation and lack of education on that front. And then 2, we want to inspire and instill passion for STEM and space exploration among students, educators, and communities at large. And then thirdly, we want to strengthen Africans' voice, capacity and visibility in global space discourse, innovation, and policy making, essentially getting for the African continent a seat at the space table. Very, very vital. And then lastly, but not the least, we want to promote understanding of how space education connects to Africa's progress on Earth, including applications in agriculture, climate monitoring, navigation, telecommunications, and national development. Then again, we want to highlight the intersectoriality of it all, how in real time space influence our daily lives. And then our mission is in 5 folds. First and foremost, we plan to create accessible space education programs for schools, universities, and communities at large. Then to support emerging African professionals in space, science, technology, and policy. This is very, very vital because we know that in that sense, it's not only even limited to space. In many arenas of our national lives, we have brilliant thought leaders in many fields who never gets to see the light of day because on the international plane, there are nations that kickstarted their respective journeys earlier than us, and they have captured those turfs. So when it comes to space exploration, especially, there are, of course, brilliant African minds that are not getting the opportunity to shine. We want to remedy that flaw. And then thirdly, we want to also advocate for the development and adoption of national regional space policies. Ghana, for instance, has a semblance of space policy that's in existence, but then no action. We want to advocate for actionable national and regional policies, and also to collaborate with the government, academia, private sector, and international partners to promote this continent of ours participation in global space ecosystem partnership. Very, very important. And then to provide research training, mentorship, and prepare youth for careers in science, engineering, policy, and innovation. We'll be highlighting the employability of it all. So it's not just talk, it's not just to get people excited to look up in space while others go and do the work and benefit therefrom. We want to show in real time and make the tools available for our African minds, brilliant young people to be able to have careers in the field. Then now to our core objectives. We have 6 grand core objectives. First and foremost, we want to develop a space education resource curriculum and resource materials for schools in Ghana. Then again, this is one aspect that we can sit in fatalism for the government to take the needed initiative. So the plan is to leverage on public-private partnership and us in the private sector push this very important mandate. And resource materials, that's very, very vital amongst many other things. I heard Maurice talk about reports, knowledge production. That's one thing we'll be zooming in on very strongly. There will be periodic publications that we will be doing, periodic reports and books for the various levels of schools, so right from primary to JHS to senior high school and universities. And us assembling as experts in the field of space exploration, we will be offering our respective knowledge to serve this particular projects that will be undertaken in due time. And then organize workshops, space camps, seminars, and awareness programs. Thirdly, we'll be advocating for Ghana and Africa's contribution in international space governance and diplomacy. So after we've done the work on ourselves as a country and a continent, we will now begin fighting actively for our space and a seat on the table of this whole space agenda in fulfillment of Article 1 of the Outer Space Treaty. And then fourthly, we'll be establishing partnerships with Africa, African and global space agencies, universities, and institutions. That's why this movement is very, very important, because now we have our representative from Tanzania, Egypt. The list is going to go on and on and on until we've covered the 54 countries in the region. So each and every country will have its chapter eventually, where we'll be forging and replicating these kind of important partnerships in the various countries, then come together as one unit, an African unit driving this agenda. Then we want to also train young Africans in satellite technology, remote sensing, astronomy, space law, and policy. Fifthly, we want to also promote gender inclusion in STEM and space studies. And I'll say that comparatively, we have an advantage on this front as a continent, because unlike the West, which started its space journey in the context and in the climate of gender exclusion, that was 1950s and 1960s, women were excluded from many of these activities in those nations. We have the benefit of starting this conversation and getting actively in this context of gender inclusion. So we'll be doing one better than the West when it comes to this. And perhaps we'll start teaching them how to achieve gender inclusion in their space programs. Now, to the key programs that we want to undertake. They are named, first and foremost, we have the Mercury program, which will be targeted at primary and secondary schools and shall be dubbed the Space Education Outreach Program, SEOP. Then there's the Venus program, which will be targeted at university students and young professionals. And it's dubbed the African Space Leadership Fellowship. And there's the Mars program, trained, where we'll be training educators to serve as foot soldiers to deliver space and STEM content across their nations and the region, continent as a whole. Then it will be dubbed the Teachers in Space initiative. Then there's the Jupiter program, which will be an annual conference on space governance and development, which will be the African Space Policy Forum. But before we get to those annual events, there will of course be satellite webinars and seminars that will be undertaken periodically before the lead up to the annual event. Then there's the Saturn program, which is targeted at promoting diversity and will be dubbed the Girls in Space and STEM. Then we have the Uranus, which will essentially feature public talks, astronomy, nights, exhibition, basically activities that make space fun and digestible. And it will be the Community Space Awareness Days. So this is the ultimate aim. The Black Star of Africa is essentially on a journey to put Africa in the stars. Black Stars of Africa being Ghana. I know that we have Tanzania here, and Tanzania is the cradle of humanity. So essentially, we as a continent where it all began, we want to take ourselves onto the stars. And what values are we expounding on this journey? First and foremost, and as I go through this, you can clearly see it reverberate in everything that we discussed so far. One, innovation, of course, collaboration, hammered on partnerships a lot, integrity, very, very important, inclusivity, noted, scientific curiosity, and the core theme being African empowerment. And I'm just happy about what Maurice said also. Even though the plan is Africa, we at the end of the day understand intimately that we are in the same soup with the rest of the global South. So it's good that in the global South, I mean, it's deliberated whether China forms part of the global South, but they will be the first to tell you that yes, they are. So it's important for us to also, after we've dealt with ourselves as a continent, to explore very, very important partnerships to get this done. So someone will ask why the need for such an NGO in the first place. As noted, space technology is at the heart of modern developments. Space exploration is like air. You breathe it, but you don't see it. So the tendency of taking it for granted is very, very high. And we've noted how the intersectoriality of it all and how intimately it affects our day-to-day lives, from weather forecasting to agriculture to national security. You know, Africa is projected to be the breadbasket of the world in a few years to come. And I'm only excited to see how best we can explore space to an AI, the AI revolution to drive our agricultural sector. And then also national security and communication, very vital. Space-related systems, they shape each and every nation's progress. So ASEPI, we want to ensure that Ghana and the rest of the continent is not left behind by starting and sustaining discourse and nurturing leaders who can transform space into tools for socio-economic growth. So yeah, so essentially we believe that space exploration, even though quite realistically it's out of the world, it's outside our spheres, space is outside our spheres, but at the end of the day, space really is not out of the world. And I sat down with, had a conversation with Dr. Kakari, was it last year, and wrote an article titled Not Out of the World, the idea being that to help people appreciate how intimately space affects their day-to-day life and our national socio-economic development as a whole. So yes, that's our founding aim and our aspirations, and we hope to start and sustain this important journey with us all here to get this done for the continent. Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for welcoming me. It's not a question per se, but I don't know, the recommendation or something, because since our NGO is very young, so I was wondering if we can have 2 to 3 or 4 vision of which we can start with as by now. For example, maybe we can first concentrate on as Maurice and the former presenter said, we should first concentrate ourselves in education, or in advocacy, etc. What do you consider to be the first 2 or 3 things that we should start with, and then as the time goes on, we can embark from the remaining?
Yeah. 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 Yes, so I was going to say that, so that's why when I was starting, I noted that this is our overarching plan as guiding the organization. So it's from short to long term. So that's brilliant. What we have to do now is our strategic plan. So we'll have our year-over-year targets and really pocket size the broad aims that we have guiding ourselves. Then we agreed, okay, so this particular year in the short term, this is what we want to achieve. This is how many schools that we want to have spoken to. There's the level of education we want to have started from. Are we starting from the SHS? I, for one, am an avid believer that the SHS is a very prime opportunity for re-socialization and re-education, because in the context of Ghana, for instance, most of our SHS are boarding schools. And in the boarding schools, we have our various clubs. We had investment club, debate club, reading club. As young as we are, we wanted something to do because we are bored in our boarding school. So we can speak to the various senior high schools and establish a space club, which we oversee. And those things, they are not expensive. You don't have to spend anything. The books, the resource materials that we develop, we share with them. They have weekly meetings and all that. Yeah, so we'll have to develop our strategic plan, and it's part of our action plans that we've agreed on to do. Yeah. So the recommendation Moritz made, for instance, is very important. The recommended where, in his opinion, we should start from and get to. Yeah. We'll deliberate on that and get that done. Mm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
Hello? Yeah, first of all, I would like to pass my deeply congratulations to speakers who they've took their time to prepare something for the organization, starting from Madam McCaffrey and Bollis.
Mhm.
I really appreciate the effort you have made to prepare a written documentation in form of presentation for the organization. That is very commendable from my perspective. Apart from that is, I would like to join hands with the former speaker, my late brother Kasim, that as far as the organization is the infant stage, we need to have very few targets so that we can achieve what we want to achieve. Why am I saying that? Is the fact that basing on the title of the organization itself, the title specify itself to education and policy. So if now we have to break down from the title is the education, which part of education, who are the targeted participants? Is it the university level or the middle school or the primary school? Then we need to know that. If not the university, then who are the main target? Then on the aspect of policy, then we cannot go with it to the university. Then the policy is mainly from the people with authority to decide. Now we'll be talking about the government or the agencies and the likely who are on the tables who can negotiate or who can make decision. That's one. Then from from that aspect, then I think we need to have very few, if not two, of. But the object, as far as the organization is in its the birth, we need to have very, very few, which can also when we are planning them, we should also consider the issue of the economic implication of it. How are we going to achieve it? Because planning it is one thing, but implementing what we're planning is another is another aspect. And as far as the implementation aspect is concerned, then the aspect of economy or the finance party must chip in. Then if we'll be having a lot of activity to be done within, let's say, 1 year or 2 years, then we have to think of, if these are the activities, then how are we going to finance them? If you remember my late brother Livingston, I told you the financial aspect will be very, very important as far as the survival of any organization is concerned. But again, from Madam McCaffrey, if I really pronounce well your name, you'll excuse me. I'm getting a bit of dilemma here. The title of the organization is African Space Education and Policy Initiative. But from your presentation, I can see Ghana and Africa. Ghana and Africa. Is Ghana not in Africa?
Yeah. So the plan is to start. Ghana is the first case study, patient zero. So in terms of strategies, one of the many strategies that we are adopting in the short term, Ghana is where we are starting from. Then we begin in a success story that we attain in Ghana, we replicate seen in the rest of the African continent. Because we'll be buying a whole lot here, more than we can chew if we start and we set up the chapters in the various 54 countries in the continent. So Ghana is where we are starting from, the headquarters. Then we move on to the rest of the African region. Yeah.
Mr. Livingston, I understand what you were saying, but if you can recall our previous conversation, we need to be very, very keen the aspect of centralization and decentralization. Because from my perspectives, if that thing has to go into a written documentation, then it might bring some kind of biasness to some of the participants or the members, it is very, very, from my understanding and from my perspective, it has to be looked into very, very consideration, because it can really solidify the organization, or it can break the organization without us knowing. That's why, if we recall our previous conversation before the first general meeting, I told you it is best if the organization should be left to flee, and the members from each country should come together and present into the organization what events do this member want the organization to conduct within their country, so that each member within the organization feels like the country or his membership or a membership is the part of the organization.
Most
But
definitely. Most
I,
definitely.
but I also understand that as the organization needs to have an headquarter somewhere. We cannot have an organization that does not have an headquarter that exists from the vacuum. That cannot happen. So I also understand that too. So I think from the constitutional perspective, then the constitution of the organization must state that the headquarters of the organization is based in Ghana. But the function of the organization is on the continent wide.
Yeah.
So that every member who joins it, once the member reads the constitution of the organization, then this member will have a clear vision that, oh, this is the headquarters, but the entire objective or the entire function of the organization is across the globe.
Most definitely.
So that
Most definitely. And even replicating similar agencies that some of us have across the continent, that's the strategy that's adopted. There is a headquarter in one specific country, but there is various chapters in the other regions across the continent. But as you noted, all these chapters, they have the free range to decide what their strategy for a year is, even though we have a central theme. So this is the overarching plan. We all capture the essence of the overarching plan. But in your chapter, you can decide that maybe Ghana decides that this month we are doing maybe senior high school tours. You can decide that for us, the approach of going with a community in our first month is much more feasible. So we all have rooms to culture to fit our particular context, but there will be discussions. We are all in the loop of what's going to happen in the various countries, in the various chapters. So there's free range to do as the country in question wants to do it, but then at the end of the day, the core aim of the organization is maintained. Yeah.
Guys, I'm getting what you're saying, but anyway, for now, let's see how it will work.
So
But
we'll
trust me,
develop the strategy now.
Okay.
We'll develop the strategy. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. May I ask something? I know that is a little bit different, maybe a little bit sensitive because I'm an outsider, yeah, and I don't have the whole overview of the differences between African cultures and countries. But let me just point out one point. I think it is very important right from the beginning to make the right steps. and to overcome all misunderstandings. I think we should follow the principle of building a common basis and postpone differences. Yeah, that is a very important aspect. And on the one side, I understand totally the aspect we cannot concentrate on one country when we say we are African. Yeah, that is totally the point which I get. On the other point, we have limited resources, and we have for the basic on the limited resources to concentrate on one starting point. Yeah, but how can we bridge it? I think it is very important that from the beginning, when the organization is constituted, that based on the membership, current membership, there is always one representative, as it was already said, in the board from each country. Otherwise, African country. Otherwise, we have an imbalance. Yeah, that would be maybe my thing. That we are open with our thoughts, yeah, with also our critics, but have to find the right balance, yeah, on what is objectively possible and what is necessary. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I get it. But I want to add something. I think before, as what Land Brother Morris said, we need to go together, and what will make us go together is, I know until now we don't have the constitution of the organization, right?
No.
Yes. So I think the constitution of the organization must clearly must cut across all these or doubts or difficulties that we are facing now.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, of course.
why am I saying that? We need to go, or we need to look to different constitution of different inter the East African Cooperation Community. How did they formulate the constitution so that they don't leave this unanswered doubts or unanswered questions? Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, so that's what the question.
Yeah, yes. So I don't, upon second thought, I don't know if it's the use of the words centralized and decentralized that's causing confusion for Georgia, and I don't know the discussion we've had prior to that, but essentially the model that we are creating is that, like any organization, there is a headquarters, there is a starting point, and as Maurice rightly noted, as part of our strategic planning, you're the one who even asks what this plan is, that we do pocket size so that we know we are starting from point A to point B. Realistically, we cannot start from point 54 countries. So we are starting with point A being Ghana. We undertake the projects that we have planned at least for a year. Like that's why I said that Ghana is just the first patient that we are treating. So the lessons learned and the partnerships that we're able to strike and the successes that we make, we see how best, having been strengthened, how best to move on to the other African countries. And all of these chapters will have some level of individuality. By the end of the day, there is a headquarter of the chapter. So maybe centralized in the sense of, it's not like it's a power play of centralization that Ghana dictates what everyone does. That's not the case. Ghana is just the headquarters. So if that's where the problem is centralized, it's maybe used loosely. Ghana is just the headquarters and the starting point. We wish we could start from Ghana, Nigeria. I think that would be marvelous, but that's not realistic.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Morris proceed first.
Yes, of course, there are some also cooperation programs. There are special programs for African education on the European Union, on the level of the European Union, also on the European Council. Of course, the only point what I always would highlight is how much does this kind of support of influence also the neutrality or the political how to say orientation of the NGO. That is the only point, but that is what you guys then have to consider. But in this regard, yeah, of course, it is not a problem also to apply for external how is it fund to do fundraising in the European Union. Yeah.
Oh, brother, thank you so much. No, thank you. I'm just listening.
Thank you, Dr. Kakari. Yeah, so as Dr. Kakari rightly mentioned, I am Abigail Quintua Eriku, the acting secretary for ASEPI. Yes. So thank you all for being part of today's meeting. Our presence and commitment mean a lot to this organization. And as we move forward, let us all be encouraged to stay dedicated to this vision. And I know and believe that one day we will beat our chest and boldly say that we were part of this from inception. So God bless you and thank you all for joining today's meeting and accepting to be part of this organization. So now let's take notice of the following announcement. We are taking steps to formalize our organization. So we have the option of adopting the statutory constitution or drafting our own constitution, but we intend to draft our own constitution. So we are putting in the effort to realize that. So kindly take note of that. We will update you on that as we move on. And also, we will be having our space education discussion, hopefully in January next year. So kindly take note of that. When the time comes, we will start calling on you to support. And I think further discussions will go on the page. So kindly take note of that. And we are entreating all members and collaborators to invite other experts to join these organizations. It's very important, especially collaborators on sponsorship and then educational exchange. So kindly take note of that as well. And our membership is open to everybody, all students, especially students in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and students from social sciences as well. So you can invite as many people as possible to join this organization. And our next general meeting will be announced. So we don't have the date yet. As we said, we are taking steps to formalize everything. So our next general meeting, the time will be communicated to you. I think we will give a week, at least a week's notice to you so that you will have enough time to prepare for the meeting. Okay, so I'll introduce our executives to you. I'll do a brief introduction. Dr. Kakari will continue. He will go deep into that. So I'll start from Dr. Kakari himself, who gave birth to this vision that we are all supporting. And he's working with McCaffrey Akins, our guest speaker, who is the acting organizing and advisory officer at the moment. And then myself, I am Abigail Quintua Eriku, and the acting secretary. That is why you are seeing me today giving the announcements. All right, so I'll conclude by saying that, I can't leave. Forgive me if I don't get the title well. Is it Mr. Moritz? The title is right? I got it right. Yes. Thanks so much for putting together that beautiful logo for us. It is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And then your friend as well, extend it to him that we appreciate that the work that went into that. It's amazing. It's amazing. Oh, it's amazing. So please, as we said, invite more people to bring their expertise on board and let's push this vision. And I'd like to conclude by saying a very big thank you to you all. If I didn't mention your name, I know you know that you are present today and we don't take your presence lightly at all. Thanks so much for being present today and bringing your ideas and your expertise on board to achieve our aims. And I encourage that we bring our best energy to every activity ahead. We look forward to seeing you at our next meeting. God richly bless you and have a wonderful day. Thanks so much. Bye. That's from my side. The bye is from my side. So I'll hand over to Dr. Kakari to continue.
No, thank you.
No, thank you, guys. I have nothing on my side.
Okay, so yes, I know we have great memory, those of us on this call, but essentially, we've looked through our overarching plan. It's important that we know what this document is. It's just the overarching idea behind this movement. Consequently, we are working on developing our strategic plan that will detail, like in such explicit details, the go-to-market strategy, partnerships, long-term goals, short-term plans, all those are important organizational plans. We are also working on our constitution, registering the organization, so on and so forth. So we'll keep the dialogue going on the WhatsApp platform and periodically in our meetings as we may all agree on. So yes, really a pleasure to have us all here. Thank you. Yes, hi. Yeah, hello.
Recording stopped.
Mm, yeah, yeah. Yes, exactly. All those will be contained extensively in the Constitution. Yeah. I, is that what he was saying? Because that would be, because from what he was saying, it looked like he wanted real autonomy for the different bodies that will exist. So in the case of Tanzania, autonomy to decide what they want to do with the project. That's what he was saying. So in that case, yes. So in that case, I do not think that he intends just rep. Yeah. Yes. So that's what I was saying. Is it a word? Yeah, because at this point, maybe it's a word of decentralization, centralization. So is it that in their mind, they think that, okay, we as a continent are just working towards building the Ghanaian space movement, which is not the case. Exactly. So it's just starting from here and then moving on to, because it's also learning experience for the various countries in the program now. So Tanzania, you being here, realizing the mistakes that Ghana is making along the way, the journey. When it comes to the time for us to set up the Tanzanian chapter, there is a lot of like real learning and partners that you can also draw from. So for me, it's quite straightforward because, yeah, I'm on different, like, for instance, there's an African Women Leadership Organization. There is a central chapter, which is in Nigeria, but then they establish different chapters in Ghana, South Africa, so on and so forth. Yes. And then what I did was I even developed their strategic plan for the year for the organization. But in the various chapters, they have the option to customize it. Exactly. 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 Yeah. 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 Thank you too. Thank you too. Yes. Yeah. So what I'll advise is that even though we want to build a platform, we should focus on recruiting uh, uh, those hands that need a helping hand. So the recruitment should focus more on experts for now. You get the experts in various fields as we build, because you can't recruit maybe students and whatnot on the platform that you've not even registered yet. You don't have a clear plan. So after we've done all that, then we make it much more general and bring up. Okay. Thank you too. So yeah, yeah, I'm going to do some errands for a project that we have tomorrow. So okay. Yes, yeah. So yeah, even this video, after I send it, I don't know who is a good video editor in the team. They can now like crop it into various, cut it into segments, like cut it maybe a 1 minute trailer of it, stuff like that. All these are contents that we can use for the social media platform. Okay, okay. I'll send you the meeting to the recordings. I'll forward the recording to so yeah. Hello, Abigail. Yeah. Okay. Maybe okay. So yeah, I think it's gone. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Hello, is the
Yes.
meeting
Yes.
over?
Yeah.
I had a little challenge with my network, forgive me.
Oh, happy. Yeah.
Oh, we talking more. Meeting ground outside home when I went. My son had broken my TV right now.
Your son, what?
He has broken my TV right now.
Oh,
We're buying
oh,
the TV.
oh my
That's why I
goodness.
left. Forgive me.
Oh,
I
oh,
just
oh.
wanted to see the sound. I just wanted to see what it was, but he wasn't hit. That's what is important.
Oh, that's why if you have home insurance, just
Me see wafa bottle ne water bottle na what to everything. I don't know what he was watching, whether it was
oh.
irritating, scary, or what. And then he threw it. He doesn't do that. I'm surprised he did that today.
If you had home insurance, you just go and claim.
Mary, right after speaking, then I heard the sound. That's why I muted and then went and saw that. Oh, but is important. What is important is he wasn't hit. That's what is important. Right. Let's put that aside and concentrate on this.
Mm.
That's fine. But I say, don't worry. It's the one in the living room. I have one in the bedroom. I have another one. He's fine. I have one in the bedroom, like the two bedrooms here. I have TVs here, so we put one. We send one of them there. And okay. Mhm. Oh. Mhm. Confusion. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the entire continent is just going to work to develop maybe Ghana's space program, then that's all.
Mhm.
Maybe that's what he's thinking, but that's not the case. And that's what I was saying that before we plan this meeting, should we finish the strategic plan before? But it makes sense. We just introduced to them the concept today, and then we will have a much more in-depth plan presented. Okay,
So okay.
no,
Kafi, you were saying something.
no,
Go ahead.
no, I'm listening.
Okay, so I promised to send something this week, but that was the form for the registration. Yeah, so this week, because we were closing the year, the week was very tough, packed for us in the office. So we had a lot of things to deal with to conclude the year. So this weekend, then I think next week from Monday to Wednesday, but after Wednesday, Thursday going, I'll have time to put something together. And as I said, I'll be working with Kafui to do that. So by I don't want to give
So,
any specific time.
I
But
think I'll end up here because
yes,
next week
by
is
end of
Christmas.
mhm,
So we should expect it as in early next year, all
next
the
year, sure.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do next year.
So the strategic plan and all, as for the strategic plan, I'll do it and share with us. Then we all look at it. If we have any comments, we add up and yeah.
Institution. Yeah, institution. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. She did amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it concept notes?
Let's fly.
Concept notes? What are they?
Is that a flyer?
Brochure. Is it? Then a flyer. Yeah. Because we've not done
Yeah.
our planning, we've not registered. We have to do all those things before we open it up to. Yeah.
He's George. George Hewitt. Ah, he's George Hewitt. Yes. So interesting.
No, please, that would be all. I'm going to mechanic.
Many problem, cry. You'll be fine. Okay. All right.
Bye. All the best. Bye, we go speak to you later.
Come again.
I'm saying speak to you later. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.